When I first joined, I always got video muted and audio muted, and that's Jacob's probably trying to get on right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was really hoping you would show up, Art, because what I've done is I've started a small group of musicians because I needed some music for a podcast series I'm going to start doing with Rusty. And so there's this small circle of mostly OmniFuturists that are doing musical, and it just is very apparent between the book and the type of music they're generating that next year the OmniFuturists need to become a company. And so Jason is, of course, hi, Jason. Jason, of course, is one of the musicians. Alora is one of the musicians. And then we've got somebody who'll probably join the OmniFuturists next year. Marcy, who's on the USTP. She's more than likely going to join the OmniFuturists next year. And then they reach out to some of their friends and acquaintances, and so it's growing slightly.
Mm-hmm.
And so here's a question we're starting to think about is the business structure of the OmniFuturists. I've been pretty insistent that I want a social purpose corporation so that we can do, if we ever had any money, we could do some good things for humanity without running afoul of the normal corporate structure and the way the legal system enforces how officers are required to handle profits, right? And this is most other states, they're called B Corps, but here in Washington State it's a social purpose corporation, and also a co-op. Okay. And then as I'm talking about this, Jason has suggested that we talk to some people who are part of a DAO. And so one of the questions I posed to Jason yesterday was, man, tell me some of the first reasons why you would want to consider a DAO. Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, and it's mostly about the structure to where with the blockchain or whatever, it's all kind of automatic and you wouldn't have to do it. The main reason I'm interested in talking to these guys from the DAO is because, all these DAOs started forming, a year or two ago. And so they've had a little bit, I'm really curious as to, are they working? You know what I mean? A lot of them will start up, but are they actually working? And we might maybe be able to find something out, and like Daniel Solinger works, his jellyfish DAO is a media type DAO. So
yeah, sure. Yeah, the jellyfish DAO, I watched one of their videos and they look extremely impressive. So I've got just a few comments to say. Hi, Alora. We're already starting to talk about business structure for the company next year. Jason was asking if we want to consider a DAO. And so we're probably going to have a discussion with some folks who are in a DAO. And I got a few comments about this. It goes like this. I really love blockchain. I think that some aspects of a DAO make a lot of sense. On the other hand, the con that I'm reading is that the DAO is not an actual recognized legal structure, and you can get into, and there are some, and I think partly, Jason, because of the collapse of the fantasy of NFTs, there have been a lot of financial and legal issues with some of these DAOs. So here's what I might suggest is, and the reason I asked you what things you were interested in, blockchain as a concept is very attractive to me. Cryptocurrency is an automatic turnoff because I think that my suspicion is as soon as there's a digital US dollar, all of these will go to zero.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Really.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not all
And
super sold on a DAO. I just,
right,
it might have potential, and I figure now has been enough time to where we can find out if it's actually working or not.
right. I'm with you totally. And the other thing is that's obvious with a DAO is the intent is to have a democracy running your business, not a patriarchy where the CEO barks and everybody just does whatever he wants, etc., and it flows down. I really like sociocracy or holacracy, where it's um, like you would expect out of a co-op. Everyone has is more like a one person, one vote organization. And one of the problems that I'm reading with DAOs is that because the tokens are what are used to vote, there are ways in which people can accumulate tokens, take over the company. And this actually happened in one of the scams. Somebody worked behind the scenes to get enough tokens that they had voting control. They took over the company and drained it of all of its resources and left. So there are some bad aspects to those DAOs. I love blockchain. I love the idea of more democratic structure for this business. So I'm going to stop for a minute. I want to ask some people what they're thinking about that. Hey, Jacob, how about Art? Art, you've been kind of quiet. What do you think of what business structure makes sense to you?
Well, go with what's tried and true, just a regular corporation, where you have to report your taxes like every year. So that's going to incur an expense just having it formed. And I had formed a corporation one time, and one time I forgot to do my taxes on time, and they charged like $200. Just
Yeah.
I didn't make any money, nothing. It was just by name a corporation. But if you didn't do it by the end of that first month, it's penalty. So that is going to incur costs to do to maintain that legal structure.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, it's probably the best way to go if we earn any sort of revenue,
Yeah.
because that's how you report it. But
So
just
I
having it.
want I want to make it clear that I expect to shoulder all the startup expenses myself. I'm not, sometimes when people start one of these like co-ops, you got to buy your way in with I don't know, $1,000 or $100 per person just to get some startup money. I'm not asking for that. I have also created a startup, and there's some pretty low cost ways to do it. You got to file a DBA. I don't expect to have heavy duty expenses to set this up, because sometimes these structures are pretty straightforward to do. Filing the taxes would also be something that the fees would be something for me. And I'm not um, uh, uh, dreaming about our potential for revenue. I suspect that for the first few years, it's going to be very lean. And if you may not remember my chapter from last year, I'm in love with slow and steady and quality and longevity, not growth for growth's sake or inordinate amounts of profit. And so it's just, I think that as the book continues to get, we've got 7 people lined up to join us next year who want to write chapters. I think that the supply of books is going to be easy. Whether we ever make any money, who knows? And as I explained, we got this small circle of musicians that we've started. Jason and Alora are the stars. We've got several other people who are working on music for podcasts. You guys may not know that John Kay wants to do a movie. That's another one where I would be funding our buy-in in order to have some of the music be part of the score. Anyway, so I agree. The revenue, we're unlikely to make a lot of money. It'll be money losing venture for a while. That'll be all on me. But once we get to profit levels, then I would like it to be some form of equal distribution. And the question I wanted to talk about today is, it's going to be lumpy, if at all. So the books might have small amounts of revenue. The music might not have any for quite a while. We're going to include also artists who want to. Now, Art, you got your own business on the side. We're not trying to absorb your business. If you wanted to join us, it'd be just what you don't want as part of that. A good example is Jason. I don't know if you know this, guys, but Jason has this persona as a hard rock, long-haired, manly man with two women on his motorcycle with him, okay? He's got this persona. He's Adonis on a Harley, okay? He wants to do some other music that's outside that, doesn't want to foul or poison his brand. So he's segregating his music, okay? If it's not quite the rock star, hard rock star, if he wants to do something else, would be with us. Okay, so way too much talking. Alora, what do you think? Oh, okay, go ahead, Art.
At the same time, real quick, I wouldn't mind somebody managing stuff though, because that's, so if Futurists was to manage artists' other stuff too, that would be
right. I agree. Yeah, I agree, and we'll just go on a growth trajectory for now and just see how it feels, if we can get to something that everybody's comfortable with. So yeah, Jason emphasized that right away, is he may not want to deal with setting up the DBA and some of the legal structures or the taxes, and I'd be happy to coordinate that or pay someone to do it. Like when I was in California, I always paid a CPA to do my taxes. Okay, there were a lot of complications, so I just didn't want to do it myself. Okay, so yeah, I agree with Jason. Alora, what are you thinking about this?
I would like to, do a DAO as soon as it's feasible. I agree with you that I don't think it's feasible. I see some groups, like somehow they successfully do it, like the singularity.net guys. They got a DAO and they have this cool thing called Decentraland where you can go and you can walk around your avatar in there, and sometimes they have like presentations, and so it's the buy-in seems cool. It seems like a cool community. So, but yeah, and I'm learning a lot about blockchain because of my chapter and just having to do research.
Right.
So I think that it'll get there.
Yeah, let me make a couple of comments right away on what you just said. What I'm reading, the emphasis is on, this is really good for informal organizations. It isn't working out as well as a business legal structure, and that's the difference. So I'm just saying, I like the aspects of the DAO that could be used by a regular corporation. Okay, blockchain is fine. I love blockchain. Okay, it may be a way for us to track if it's nebulocracy or sociocracy, however we organize the company. And this is why I wanted to start now. We're not going to form it till next year sometime at the early. Okay, folks? I want to start talking about it now so I understand where everybody is. There's a lot of things I don't know. I want to get your feedback. So I'm getting a blockchain vibe is good, but you watch the collapse of NFTs or some of the scammy crypto, and you go, okay, we don't want that part. Okay. But we certainly, I've worked 40 years for these huge industrial bureaucracies that are dictatorships, and no, I don't want that either. Right. So
I'll say it this way. I think that it's an emerging technology. And I'll also say that the OmniFuturists is still primarily something that we do with our spare time. And I'm not expecting money from it. I'm, just happy that I get to play in here once in a while and learn about the topics you guys are interested in. And for me, the content creation is about getting the message out there and changing people's minds about futurism and about transhumanism and just about different ways of, forming governance, for example, or different things, different technologies. So yeah, I don't really care if I make any money this year with this. I just want to, now that we have the music collaboration, I want to do more of that.
Right.
Yeah. So, and I would like to set aside some time, Mike, to sit with you and just go over our Google Drive stuff, just like the members list. Let's look at it. Let's see. You said we're gonna get some new members. I talked to a coworker about what we do in this group, and she seemed really interested. She's her background is in software engineering, and that's what she wants to do in the future. Right now, she's going to be a behavior therapist with me, but I told her that we're into science topics and stuff, and she seems like she might want to join. So
Good.
yeah.
Okay, so a couple topics there is number one, the reason I bring up folks from next year. Okay, I've got these 7 people who've said they are
7,
interested.
okay.
I said we're closed right now, so
Mhm.
please send people you think would be useful. We do this every year. So, sometimes I remember Alan had a few that once they were given the opportunity, they said, that's ludicrous. The economic singularity will never happen. I don't want to waste my time with a group like that's. I'm totally cool. We front load with all these people, and some of them just turn out to not be interested. They might have made a good match, but they just decide that they don't have time or interest for it. So that's one thing. Let's see, there were several things that you brought up today. Oh, I know. Before we form the business, we're going to have a long conversation about a culling, whether or not we want to, because one of the things I've said all along is that if you write a chapter, you're a permanent member. And the one I always think about is Kimberly Forsyth, who has never shown up for a meeting, but we used one of her chapters on 3D printed solutions and aquaculture and stuff in the very first book. And, she's just got other things going on. I want her to be part of it. There might be other people like Zach Richardson who says, I really don't want to be part of your group. Get me the hell out of here. I'm not part of your company. I don't want to be an employee. I don't want the hassle. Get out. Okay. So we do have to have that discussion. We're going to do a couple things here. Ellen will come back to the book later, what the progress is and who's turned in chapters and all that. Let's stay on the business structure for a few minutes. We'll go to Alan and then we'll go to Jacob. Go ahead. Alan, you're an expert in forming businesses. What are you thinking?
Well, I've done a few, and I love the idea of slow money, which is, like you said. However, I have not personally been involved in any examples of slow money that worked.
Yep.
And I think it's hard to do because people that get involved, they want to have some kind of output. If it's a book and it's if it's one of Art's paintings, gets sold and that goes into a common operating fund or something. I don't think any of us are looking for a real profit out of this, but we're all, at least in my, for me. But I think we need to look at these mechanisms of. Wow, I've been teaching this since I saw the 10-minute video last Tuesday morning. Probably taught this a dozen times. 5 types of intrinsic motivators: curiosity, mastery, purpose, autotelicity, which is another fancy way of saying a flow state, and autonomy, right? So those kinds of things, I mean, like Jason put in the chat, hey, I'm going to be creating content anyway, right? And I'll be doing the same thing. I'll be writing, whether you guys are publishing me or not, or whether I'm publishing with you or whatever. So I say all that to forward my 6 comments I was thinking about. Mike, you've been mentioning DBA, And that's another one that I've found is it's great if it's a side hustle. If you're just selling your own stuff and the money's going right in your pocket. But I'm not sure it's an organization system for something as diverse as we have here. And an LLC might be better. They're relatively cheap and they're more expensive. In Texas, it's $25 to establish a DBA. It's $300 to establish an LLC. But then you've got to file taxes and there's legal requirements and there's more to it. A DBA, you file your own taxes and you just, the company money is your money and there's no distinction there. Likewise, profit versus nonprofit. I'm talking about profit, but if we did it as a nonprofit, we could take in money. And the other thing is then we could, because a nonprofit doesn't mean no money comes to the participants. I mean, Art can donate a painting and he can also get paid for doing the work, right? So it's like, oh, okay, we're hiring Art as a painter. We're hiring Jason and Laura as musicians. We're hiring Jacob and Alan as writers or whatever, right? So they can get a stipend or a payout of some kind like that as a nonprofit. And again, that just the nature of this thing, I think those will be lumps, like you said, rather than like a paycheck, steady paycheck you can count on. And I think most of us are good with that. Number 3, informal organization and DAO. And I don't know about having a DAO as an adjunct to it. It's sort of like if you have a nonprofit and a profit organization working together, there could be some sort of legal. It's like having a church that also does politics.
So you mean kind of like AI and the trouble they're in because they
exactly.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean we've seen it. We've seen it. And then like number 4, I'm happy to be here without profit. Like Laura said, I want to be learning the topics that you folks are interested in, and again, sharing these topics with a broader audience. That's kind of my thing. I want to broaden the international discussion to our one foreign member on the Zoom today. But broaden the getting coffee. Anyway, what time is it there? It must be night. Anyway. Man, I'm coffeeed out today. Anyway,
no, I'm on a constant drip. Hey, let me go back real quick before you finish up on the
Sure.
Profit nonprofit. Now we've got different collections of groups, and I want this to be intellectual only type group, meaning no heavy duty capital, no particular products. But one of the inventions that I had was BioShelter that had a potential for substantial profit, and I did not want us to get crimped if we had a takeoff. Let's say economic singularity creates millions of, I wanted that avenue that if we wanted to become filthy rich and we accidentally got filthy rich, we could, right? And that, okay, please continue.
No, and I think that's, matter of fact, I worked with a team of high schoolers in a startup competition. And they wanted to do clothing manufacture from around the world and not selling cheap clothes to foreign countries, which undermines their economies, but rather to buy their clothing at a fair market value and retail it here in the U.S. And they wanted to do this as a for-profit. And the panel of judges was really interested in why they didn't want to do that as a nonprofit. Like, why not do this as a nonprofit? And it was sort of, because they were high school kids and they elected one guy as their speaker, and he goes, we just didn't want to deal with the paperwork. so I had rarely do you get an opportunity to step up and, so I stepped in. I said, no, just a minute. I worked with this team all weekend, and I forget his name, was not there Saturday morning because he was off doing a TED talk, the TEDx for education. Right? Says, but the rest of the group actually did their due diligence and research, and they realized that, like, as a nonprofit, when they're dealing with foreign countries, they pretty much have to treat every vendor equally. I mean, in a sense, right? But as a for-profit company, they could pick winners and losers, right? They could say,
Right.
we're going to do business with this guy. And,
Right.
and that made a significant difference for them because it was interesting because it was a diverse group and they had relatives in other countries, Vietnam, India, and Guatemala, I think. And so they were like, we want to be doing business with people that our families in our home, their home countries are doing business. We've got those connections, right? So we want to, and I thought that was a really fascinating distinction. And I still can't remember that guy's name. He was a riot, but he just popped off. Oh, it's too much paperwork. So, but he was out giving a TED talk, which is kind of nice. These are sharp kids, and so, but that ability to like direct where the money goes as a for-profit entity is very useful in good shape.
And so the blend that I'm focused on being the social purpose corporation, you can have that option of making, if let's say we were to get something that just turned out to accidentally be a revenue gusher, unlikely, okay, 1 in a million is not that likely, but if it happened, we wouldn't be constrained, okay? On the other hand, if it is a profit and we're making ludicrous amounts of money, you look at some of them, I'm going to say the name Patagonia. There's a few of these corporations with a really keen sense of how people are struggling in the world. There's another one where you buy a pair of socks and they give away a pair of socks kind of thing. I think using the SPC function, or B Corp is its more common term, would be a great fit for us for now. So,
okay, yeah,
tell you what, in this, you and the editors are going to be super busy with the book through the end of the year, preparing it, editing it, and whatever. One of the things I'd like to slowly do is accumulate some of these comments and the options that we have, so that when we make a decision next year on business structure, who to include and what our purpose is. I mean, I have a very clear social purpose in mind, right? Help people through the economic singularity. That's the guiding purpose. Things may spill out of that focus because no one's really working on it, that may end up being really profitable. Okay, so sorry for interrupting, Alan. Please continue.
Driving on with number 5. So, I want to come back to that purpose thing in a minute. Creativity, creatively participating in ways that work for us, whether that's music, art, coding, content creation of all forms. I think people that want to participate administratively, like, that's super. Like that, as difficult as that is for me, no organization survives without it, right? It's not no widget maker sells widgets without the whole team, the salesmen, the marketers, the buyers, all that jazz, and somebody to coordinate all that. So and I would recognize, I would want to recognize all of those kinds of donations in kind, so to speak. And then this kind of dovetails with the purpose is the distributive decision making. And distributive decision making is much easier as long as everybody's agreed on the purpose. And I would suggest, while I have no problem with your actual purpose, I think that it might be limiting in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is limited, and that's not a bad thing. I mean, you want to focus on something. You don't want, we're going to change the world. But I think that there's a way we can structure that, like, because I really want us to avoid the singularity, right? So, so right. I don't want to fix the singularity. I want to avoid the singularity by fixing, by mitigating and fixing things up front. So I'm thinking that there's probably a way to, like, mitigating risk and maximizing potential upsides of technology that's broadly and socially interfacing or whatever. something a little less wordy than that. Fix the future before it fucks us. Whatever it is, right? And
Can I respond? Real
well, yeah,
quick.
but just give me a moment.
Yeah,
Because
of course.
I think that under that broader umbrella, preventing or fixing the damage done by an economic singularity is top notch. But also, it gives us room to say, yeah, but not only do we want to create, seek carbon sequestering bioshelters for that, right? It's also good in other kinds of emergencies. Right? So,
Yeah.
And so we can more broadly apply the things we do. And as a fundraising tool, I know we're talking profit, but at some point we might want to spin off nonprofits and just say, look, this thing is going to be a nonprofit that you can donate to or whatever. So go ahead. Yeah, please respond.
Yeah. Okay. So whenever I talk about the economic singularity, at least half of the people say that's a fantasy, that's not going to happen, you're wasting your time. And my response is, what I'm doing for what might happen in the future could be applied directly to homelessness today. And so if we need something that you're not going to get rid of ever, is homelessness. Okay. Maybe in a century with superabundance and ASI and 10 billion robots from Figure, maybe. Okay. I think that I don't have to worry about that going away anytime soon. So that could have been a better, proper, realistic framing. I put the economic singularity out there because it's homelessness. You get
Yeah, right.
It's only been around for millennia, Mike. I mean, don't tell me you're going to solve homelessness. That's ludicrous. Now you're dreaming, okay? At least there's a little bit of that futurist tinge to it of this is coming, the robots are coming for your job. It gets your attention, okay? So anyway, I agree. I agree.
So, for example, whenever I say the U.S. Transhumanist Party, I get a blank stare because nobody knows what that is, right? But if I say they're the party that wants to put health, science, and technology at the forefront of American politics, they're like, I'm in, right?
Yep.
Like, I don't care what you call it, I'm in. You want to call it transhumanism, fine. And so I think that's that kind of broader, have a broader umbrella so that we're not.
Well, let me ask you a different question, Alan. Let me ask you a different question. If I went to the transhumanist group, all of you folks here, and said, let's work on homelessness, you know how much snoring I would have gotten? Okay, there's no science or tech pizzazz with that. This is a liberal arts problem, Mike, or a bleeding heart liberal problem, Mike. Okay, and I go, well, there's a new risk. So anyway, yes, this is very good. The framing of the mission, you're right, is critical because everybody has to buy into this because you're going to spend, as Laura pointed out, this is a side project, right? Everybody's paying their rent and their food some other which way, or like Jacob, you're growing it. Okay. Okay. I'm not growing my food. Okay. Jacob's growing his food. So
I think I bought some of Jacob's potatoes just last week. So yeah.
Okay. Ellen, you mind if I go to Jacob now? I want to get him in.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
Jacob, what are you thinking, dude?
Well, I think very highly of the notion of slow money because I'm very much an adherent to being very suspicious of anything that promises usurious returns.
Good
So
man.
I think slow money is the correct way to think about any kind of business adventure. Is you build up over the years. I like that. As far as homelessness, I think you could make the problem a little more fun to solve by framing it as advancing construction technology.
Yes.
Because that's really what the problem is. It's a matter of construction technology, cheap homes of quality for people to live in.
Hey, Jacob, did you hear the pitch for the bio shelter from me? Oh, you would remember. Okay, so I droned
Okay, yeah.
on for like an hour about this. So we've got an episode set aside. I'm going to give you the quick version, Jacob. As you know, my 40-year career, a lot of composites. There is a company in Everett that builds homeless shelters. They're called pallet shelters. The shelters are basically 6 pieces of composite, fiberglass composite, with the fittings already attached, so that you ship these 6 on a pallet. That's where the term comes from. You ship it to a site where you're going to put in homeless. And it's about the size of like 8 by 10 with a locking door, electricity, air conditioning, heat. It's beds, right? It's a small cabin, super small cabin for
Okay.
homeless shelters. They have become the darling because most homeless shelters are huge warehouses, hundreds of people, and a small percentage are child molesters, rapists,
Unsafe environments.
right. And so people who are homeless don't like to go to the shelters for the danger aspect. They'd love to have a place to stay. If you give them a little cabin that they can lock the door and be hot, warm enough in the wintertime, this is a hot topic. Okay, so here's the problem. What do you do with fiberglass after 5 years being outside? You throw it in a dump. Okay, it's waste.
Okay.
And what I've done is I've suggested that if we add biochar to the mix and we use bio-based composite fibers like jute and epoxies that are bio-epoxies, you would have no petroleum. I know you love petroleum, dude. Don't get offended. Bio-based epoxies and fibers, it's all natural. It lasts, and the biochar sequesters carbon. Okay, so the idea would be not only are you creating these homeless shelter units, you would be, once it's all used up, you toss it in the landfill, you've sequestered the carbon for centuries. Okay, so this was the concept. And we contacted a researcher in Saskatchewan near Alora's home, that they are doing things with flax fiber and flax-based bio-epoxies. And I introduced this concept of using biochar. We also have some folks in Bangladesh, and we've identified jute with some of their. And then I've got a friend who I think is going to join us next year in Brazil. It's another jute-based. So there was this, it's a concept. This company would do zero manufacturing, zero. We license the concept out, small fee on each cabin. That's our revenue. Okay, so anyway, and I think, Jacob,
we have discussed that before.
And Jacob, you're following my efforts on Seed Dart. Seedling plantings being grown. Okay, there's some invention type things that in addition to the book, in addition to music, in addition to videos, there are some things that maybe ideas that we have that we could make some money on. Okay, so sorry for that long version, but you got me really excited, and I can't resist once I'm on that topic. So anyway, go ahead, Jacob.
Oh, I was just gonna say that what was I gonna say?
Well,
we were just talking about the bioshelter materials and how you were trying to figure out materials that aren't immortal.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, that's just an example of and by the way, everybody, for the sociocracy, it tends to be organized as a business in circles, not a pyramid hierarchy. So there'd be a circle of inventors, a circle of musicians, a circle of authors. And then for Alan's point, you'd have administrivia, right? You'd have folks who do the paperwork. And then you have what's equivalent to a board of directors. And each of those circles, the musician has one leader who is part of or linked to the board of directors circle, right? There is an organizational structure to it, okay? It's not that everybody just kind of mills around and we vote on every single item. Okay, you got to have a structure and leadership. But then, if after a certain period of time you don't like your leader, there's a new vote and you try somebody else. So there's democratic control. Whereas at Boeing, it's a dictatorship. I don't get to vote on my director, and he tells me what the hell to do, right? So these are things to think about. And if you can't tell, I'm kind of excited about our options, okay? Jacob, did you want to say anything else?
Not at the moment, but thank you. I just wanted to say I derived a tremendous psychic income from writing a chapter. That's been fun so far.
Good, man.
And
We will talk the book in just a moment. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say I got the list of Grammarly edits in my email the other day.
Good.
It was interesting.
Good. Yeah, I really enjoyed your chapter. Tremendous focus. I really like it a lot. You're getting me to think about other things, right? And that's the cool thing about this group. You guys don't know the amount of joy I'm getting out of these fresh ideas. And so that we're not all doing groupthink, that I've got a variety of opinions coming in about what we should do or what could be done. This means a lot to me, folks. So anyway, thank you, Jacob. Let's go to Dan. Dan, how you doing, dude? You're on mute. You might.
Dan the man. Dano.
He might have walked off. That's okay. What we could do is when he comes back, we'll go back to him. Alan, why don't we talk about the book? Of the 14 possible chapters, we got a late ad from your authors circle, right, Alan? Out of the 14, how many have turned in their chapters?
Well, I'd have to count. I've been saving myself a little sanity, and I've just been going in and opening up the first essay and starting there, and that was Jacob's. And so today yesterday I got sidetracked, but today I'm gonna open up another one, and then I'm gonna read that one, and then I'm just going through. So don't tell Dan if he gets his in before I finish reading the others. He might get his thing in us. We'll see if he comes in now. Let's see. No, and but yeah, I can go to the folder. Probably Laura looks like she's typing. It's probably already there. But
well, here's the tricky thing, and the reason I asked you is that what I've learned is it's like herding cats, and you give really clear instructions, and like no one listens. So I'll give you an example. Osinakachi Kalu sent it to Ada, who apparently is going to hand it to you. Okay, so I don't see his chapter. I haven't read it. Ada is his, focal point. Okay, and it might be useful to spend a few minutes making sure that we know where all the copies are and put them where they belong, which is the Google Drive that Alora set up. Right, so people are emailing them in and doing whatever they think is the right. They're not listening. So I don't need the answer today. I'm just curious how many we have and how many are left to go.
Yeah, and that is got a pretty quick number. I know that Jacob has his turned in. Hold on, my drive.
Yeah, take your time, please. I know you're juggling a lot of different projects.
Well, and for whatever reason, I had USTP politics or whatever as overarching this organization, and then I moved this one out from under it to make sure everything moved. Where is OmniFuturists here?
It starts with THE. It's the Google Drive. It's the OmniFuturist Drive. That was the key for me because many people made OmniFuturist Google Drive.
There's a link. That's the folder. The Future Visions 2025 folder's there.
Thank you, Aurora.
I don't know if you have some saved to your drive maybe that need to be moved. In that case, you can press the 3 dots, go to organize, move, and then it's a really easy window that pops up where you can just pick the folder, but make sure it's the right one, Future Visions 2025. Oh, I'll just say while you're looking,
There it is. I've got Future
What?
Visions 2024,
Okay.
but not 2025.
okay. Did you try pressing the link in chat?
Go
I'll be
to
right
chat.
there. Go turn the light on and I'll be
She
right there.
gave you a shortcut, dude.
Yeah.
Thank
Just go to
you.
chat.
Liz.
Yeah, you're
Click on
welcome. I just gotta help Heidi with
OmniFuturists
something.
drive. All right. Oh, okay. Because I was looking at my drive. Sorry, shared drive. So we've got Mike DiVerde. We've got Mike
A chair.
Achera. We've got Jacob. We've got Art's version of David Shapiro, I think. And then we've got Art's version of Art stuff. and let's see. Oh,
And this
There
is
we
what I mean is that there's a whole bunch of people who have like emailed them to you and I. Okay.
yeah. Yeah.
And so, I mean, I've been collecting mine up in my own personal drive because I suspected that this would happen is that, you know, when you go into where it's supposed to be expecting to find 14 chapters and no, there's like 5 people who did it right and 8 who did something else. Okay.
I was kind of excited to read A for astronaut.
Yeah.
It's not in there, which is yeah. So
Right.
I'm going to start moving everything there. I think Mike sent that to me, and then there's Matthew Rollins, who's totally new to the group,
I
but was
read his
very
piece.
responsive. Yeah, he was very responsive with because I was trying to recruit him for next year, and I told him the Wednesday before Labor Day, and I said, oh yeah, you know, for next year, I'm really talking about next year because the deadline this year is Labor Day. Because I'll have you by something by then. And I was like, well,
Oh,
okay,
that's
but
wonderful.
and yeah, so I mean, that was like a 3-day turnaround, you know, whatever. So, yeah, he had it by Saturday. So,
Well, that was
and
pretty
yeah,
good for no more time than it took him.
Yeah,
well,
and
he's a cybersecurity guy, so I think a lot of this was already on his brain, or he probably made notes already. So,
And by the way, one of the things I liked about the chapter is he wasn't tainted by what I'm always saying. People make an assumption about what similarities you have with this technological change as versus all previous ones, and don't recognize that the bots are going to be able to think and make decisions, which no previous set of tech could do. And that's the difference. And if you guys saw that Figure 2 interview, Peter Diamandis with the founder of Figure, I put it in the Discord. They've what it appears to be is they've got access to the next version of ChatGPT. Okay, 5. And they're loading a version of it into this Figure bot that can talk to you, listen to you, and observe what you ask it. For example, the dude says to the robot, "Give me something to eat." And the robot looks at the table and sees a red apple, decides that's the only thing that's edible, picks it up and hands it to him, and it says, "Here's an apple for you." Right? It's almost acting like a damn human. So anyway, that was one thing about that chapter he wrote is he's just thinking it's the same as when we went from horses on the farm to tractors on the farm. And I'm going,
Yeah,
nope.
it's totally not like that. David Wood really spells it out really, really well. It's the confluence of different technologies that are coming together at the same time.
Right.
Yeah, because just from like studying the history of energy, it's kind of like been a trend of the more you have, the more you're able to get.
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And that's how technological progression is working. It's like aviation. It wasn't very long between the moon landing and the first manned flight, all in all.
So anyway, and by the way, these 7 people who are lined up for next year so far, I mean, one of them, I guarantee you've never heard of this economic system, okay? And she's kind of tentative because she usually gets blasted on her idea, and therefore is kind of reticent. But I really love the really unusual ideas that sometimes are contributed. So anyway, Alan, like I keep saying, I don't need to know the status today. It'd be great if you could give us a status at some point. If you don't have it, I have put in the lists of the 14 different people. If you don't have a current list, I can send it again to you so that you got your checklist and you can see which ones you. Okay, good.
I saw that. I saw that in Discord, but I don't know that I can find it again. So I'd appreciate it if you just send it.
Sure.
Or at least tell me which section of the Discord it's in.
No. And by the way, of all of your, I know calling you on the telephone works. If I sent you an email, is that going to work for you? If I sent you an email after the meeting, would you look for it and find it?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll make a point. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, cool.
I try to stay out of reach. But unfortunately, I'm out of reach of the people I want to keep in touch with too.
Alan, one of the reasons I'm so happy that we all agreed that the deadline is Labor Day was so that you and Ben and Ada do not have to crunch through the holidays. You guys take your time. And the January publication is not like a requirement. But after that, I hope everybody's ready to go on the Rundown Live again for a few weeks. Laura, I'm not going to start the series until you have to be first. I'm going to say, Kristan, if you want us for 2 weeks to give you this material, Laura must be the first one you have on. And if he's got to do it on a weird day, here's the fun thing about Kristan. I really like this guy a lot. Okay, so last year I gave him 100 just to get the conversation started. And then I bought a shirt, the Rundown Live shirt, which I wear on a lot of these types of meetings. And, he forgot to send it for months and months. We are big backers of him, I think, and we got a lot of material. So I hope, Laura, that with your nebulocracy and your music, you should be a star.
I've already paid Robbie to do some music for me, and he disappeared for a year because he went traveling and was working abroad. And so I'm really trying to bring him into our group so that he can collab with me because we work so well together. And because I just want to expose him to some more of the projects that I'm working with so we can collaborate instead of it just be like me and him. Right? Because Jason has some awesome stuff. And so I really want to record Jason's song next, That We Will Live On. Oh, it's going to be so good. Like the way that the AI sings it is I'm going to copy that style exactly. It's like perfect.
Cool. This so
cool. But anyway, there was a song that I had to write lyrics to, and it took me a whole 3 hours to write lyrics and record this thing. I'm going to send it to you so you can see. But if I could quit my job and just focus on music at this point in my life, I would be a star because it's like where my passion is for sure. It's just everything costs money.
Yeah, and life is so much easier and fun when you do what you're passionate about. So I hope that we can get you there. I'm going to look at for a moment the agenda. Okay, so we've talked about business formation and we just kind of briefly talked about the status on turning in chapters. I suspect that you've got most of the chapters. We've talked a little bit about the new member suggestions for 2025. the last thing, at least that I put on the agenda, was book cover art. And I would just want to announce that I withdraw my entrant because I like Art's book covers so much, so much better than mine. I mean, so way much better than mine.
Those are just excellent.
Oh,
is
I'm
you
so
would-
Art,
grateful
is
you
yours the
shared all
one with
those
the
us.
hand? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
there's a number 5, which is the latest draft, but I just need people's feedback to see what font works the best. Because one of the things is when it's a kind of a thumbnail size, it doesn't always show as well. So looking at a smaller image, I'm trying to decide whether the black font looks better or the white font looks better. So just give me feedback on that, and I could make adjustments to how the font is, or any other of the images.
Art, I'll say this, that we'll leave it open that if someone wants to challenge you, but as far as I can tell, you got the throne, baby. I mean, you're a professional artist, and when I saw that, I was going, "Oh my God, that's perfect!" I mean, it's perfect. Okay, so and the other topic besides the book cover is, Allure asked a question, and I just want to make it very clear. Like last year's edition, each author is free to put in whatever artwork they want in their chapter. Are we in agreement, Alan?
Yeah, I think there's some, I think we ought to put some kind of cap on there because it's easy to just generate lots of versions of an image, like we don't necessarily need 5 versions of the same image. Not just you, Mike. No, not, I see you
I was
point.
bad.
But,
I was bad. I went nuts so on my images.
But yeah, I'm just thinking like, I don't
It's
know,
easy
rule of
to
thumb
do.
might be,
Yeah.
What's that?
It's really easy to do, to go
Oh,
nutso.
Yeah,
It's-
yeah, it is. And I mean, I did that too, but I'm thinking maybe like just a general rule of thumb, like 1 picture per page submitted.
Yeah.
And like Mike's A for astronaut thing is long, so he probably didn't do 1 per page. We can put other people's stuff in there too, right? I mean, but yeah, I mean, we don't want a comic. I mean, maybe we do want a comic book, but I don't think that's the way we want to get it.
Hey, I will say that we've been talking about the musicians and the authors, the inventions, the artists. We do need to come up with a way to organize the images, because let's say somebody's an author, they want images, but they don't know or don't want to spend the time learning how to make images, to have a catalog of some nature. And I have no idea how to organize everybody's AI art, because I've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of images, right? And that will be part, I would imagine, part of the OmniFuturist collection is all our AI art. And I have no idea how it, for instance, is there some sort of Gen AI system that would take our thousands of images amongst all of us and be able to sort through them so that if you did a query, I'm looking for a woman in a field of flowers, and it gives you 3 that exist already or whatever. I don't know. Is that of interest?
I mean, yeah, that definitely that's possible.
Okay.
There's even an ad
Yeah.
for such a thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Okay.
would be I think the problem that we might run into in the long run is that the technology is going to move forward. So, you might type in your search, I want this, and a new AI generator might be able to generate a better one than all the ones that we already have because it's better technology.
Yeah. Except that I'm certain to fall in love with certain images and then just want to be able to find that. That's the other problem is,
Yeah,
you're
that's
right.
a huge problem I got, is organizing all of my crap.
That's Jason, that is what I'm talking about. Okay. You are correct that in a few years, we're going to say, make me a movie of Jason on a motorcycle with his 2 blonde chicks, and there'll be a movie, right? Okay. I love
It's
using that
great the
example,
degree of
dude.
agency it is with this generative AI stuff, that if you've got something interesting in your imagination, you can just manifest it.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So anyway, those were the topics I had in my mind. I wanted to talk about business structure, what people are interested in, how the book for next year is going. Let's go, let me call on people around the room and let's just go through and see if there's any other topics that you want to talk about, because it's a summer day. I don't want to keep everybody here for 2 hours.
I just
Alora, go
I
ahead,
kind of
Jason.
want to touch on one thing real quick. Talking about the homeless and like there's this idea that we can like set up uh ways to like teach them to be able to do this and to do that. And yes, that's true, but I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with like the red pill space. It's where all these alpha male guys try to tell all these dudes how how they're supposed to be and how to get women and all that. It's fucking bullshit. Okay, like 1% of them motherfuckers are gonna get there. So that
Yep.
it's like selling this shit that only 1% of these fuckers are gonna get. What's gonna be
They're
the same?
selling a course.
Yeah, it's gonna be the same way with trying to teach homeless people these skills that can generate
Jason?
shit. It's
Yeah,
gonna be
Jason, that is a good point. Let me address it real briefly. Like I said previously, I do not want the OmniFuturists to be involved with heavy capital. So creating a homeless center or an agroforestry center or building shelters or any of these things, that has to be a separate thing that perhaps if we organize one, we might get license revenues from some of our concepts. Now, Jason, to your point, I'll remind you that I'm associated with a partner in Everett who is a social worker. She's licensed and she has a business in Everett dealing specifically with the homeless. So I don't think any of us are going to try to teach homeless on how to get out of their tent cities on the sidewalk.
Hey,
I
I
don't-
gotta say,
Go ahead.
my
Go
my
ahead.
internet course on how to get yourself out of homeless for only $500 has not sold a single copy to a homeless person. Just want to say, I don't
You
know.
know, you held up your hand and the hand popped up on the screen. Did you notice that?
Oh wow,
AI was
that's
watching your
cool.
hand. It worked.
Yeah.
It never
Oh,
works
wow.
for me.
No, it never works when I want it to. I just
Yep.
anyway.
Anyway, so Jason, you are correct. Is the success rate? You guys all know I'm a recovering alcoholic. I went through a 6-week in-house. Okay, and of course, for 22 years, I have not had a drop. You know what the success rate is, even with a 6-week in-house rehab? I mean, the ultimate, not just going to AA meetings. The success rate is 2%. 2%
Yeah,
of the people
but
succeed.
you're married. You didn't have to also be trying to pick up women while you were doing
I got divorced.
that.
I got divorced. Okay, and then got remarried. No, I mean, no, there was it. Yeah, no, and changed jobs. Yeah, so Jason, you have a very good point. Is that what we're talking about here are potential government systems or large philanthropic institutions to get people out of tent cities, get them a place to live so they can clean up and get out of their bad habits, have a regular routine. This is an environment we're not going to dip into, my friend. That is required very hands-on, heavy duty effort by people who are devoted to it. And a lot of them have lived experience. The successful rehab advisors or homeless advisors were homeless or addicts and they recovered. They were part of that 2%. So I agree with you, Jason. Okay, we're not going to do that. Is that cool, Jason?
Yeah, I was just meaning that I might, do some like educational things for us. You know what I
Yes.
mean? To help our members learn some shit and how to make some stuff. But I just wanted everybody to realize this ain't no magic bullet. Only 1% of the people are going to be able to, probably do
You're right.
that stuff.
And I'm going to
And
say this.
it has less
Wait.
to do with their skills, but more to do with their wanting to do it.
Yeah. No,
If
you're
you're
right.
an artist and you like making stuff, you're going to do it regardless. That's just how you are. And some people, you can't, it's hard to create them, really. Just
That's
kind of
right.
want.
So try this, Jason. There's like 2.5 million Americans every year that go into homeless shelter. Obviously, we're not going to save 2.5 million people. Okay. 10% would be ludicrous, but that's 250,000 people, right? 1% would be 25,000 people. 1%. So I'm just saying, if I were able to help one single mom with 2 kids, dude, this was all worth it. Okay, that's really where I'm at right now. Okay, I look at some of these people and they're struggling. Where was I? Oh, I went to Moses Lake for business. It's in central Washington, a very poor part of the country. And I can't tell you how many people I saw sleeping in cars and begging on the streets. And this is a small city, very few people in the middle of nowhere, very few opportunities. And man, it was 100 degrees out there. Right? Very sad.
Again. No, I guess not. I see when I want to do it, it doesn't do it.
Yeah,
AI
no.
is smart, but maybe I got to get it right in the corner or something. Anyway, I just dropped in the chat like some of the things, like because I'm with you. I wish you would do this thing too. Anyway, forecasting the best we can, promoting conversations about a way forward, endorsing some visions and advising against others, and building a broader cultural movement forward. People who are, because I think that's, what are we having a conversation about in our country? The border wall. And I mean, it's just not, I mean, it's like Canada's building a border wall already. So it's like, just to keep the Americans out, Trump gets elected again. And no, I don't know. I'm just shooting off my mouth now. But yeah, I think, if we want to advise folks to get, I mean, like, hey, here's a bio shelter opportunity. And what was it I heard when I was a liaison officer from U.S. Army Europe to U.S. European Command? I was in the room. It was just me, Admiral Stavridis, and General Ham. So pretty. I mean, I was feeling pretty low on the totem pole as a lieutenant colonel, and Stavridis says to him, he says, "Well, you don't want to be so close to your position that if your position falls, you fall with it." And I thought, oh, that, I mean, and of course they weren't really talking about military stuff. They were talking about how interfacing with the government, and wow, that's an interesting perspective. I mean, and I think, yeah, we don't want to be, like the Catholic Church saying, "Oh, the sun is the center of the, universe," or whatever the earth is, or whatever. And I think we want to be saying, let's build more telescopes. Let's look around,
Yeah.
right? So I'm just saying that I think that's kind of the one.
Feeding on that, the pallet shelter in Everett is kind of a new thing, and it's taken off because nobody was thinking outside the box. Everybody was used to this idea. The county government comes in using federal money, and they build a big warehouse, and they have bunk beds in a grid for 100 people, and you just shove them in there each day. Okay, there was a really bad thought pattern or process, and no one thought outside the box. And this guy, he turns out, fellas, that this was an aerospace engineer at Boeing who knew composites. And he said, if you just had 6 fiberglass panels with the fittings in there, you could bolt it together in a jiffy. Sometimes some of these weird out of the box thoughts take off and they make everything better. And so,
Yeah.
go ahead,
That's
Jake.
more like a home. I was gonna say that model is more like a home and less like a penitentiary.
Yeah.
Yes. They're very popular with the folks who, all they want is a secure place. If
Yeah,
you
just
think
a
about your
safe place out of the rain.
that's right. A little warmth would be nice.
Yeah. No fear of
They come-
violence.
And what they do is they have a small collection of these, and then there's a central place with a similar unit that has showers.
Mm-hmm.
And a
Well, there's
similar
another
unit.
point to this. In that low stress environment, that's more conducive to the kind of thinking that can get you out of homelessness.
Yes.
Mhm.
A practical thing. A lot of the homeless, we talk about the addictions. 80% of the homeless do not have particular addictions. They're working poor. The cost of living has gone beyond them. They earn minimum wage, part-time working at Target or whatever. Okay. They can't afford the rent increases. Now they're out on the streets. What do they need? They need a place that they could clean up to go do an interview if they lost their job. Each morning they gotta show up at work dressed and clean. If you're living in a tent on the sidewalk, how do you do that? Okay. One of the
Yeah.
one of the problems that was happening in Everett is, especially with sorry, I've told this story too many times. During COVID, they locked up all the public washrooms so that there wouldn't be the spread of COVID. Where do you poop at night if you're homeless? And they've locked up all the public restrooms. Okay, you do it on the street. You do it on the sidewalk. You go into where the storefront is on the old style, where the glass is in front, and then there's the entrance. There's a little recess for the door. You get a little bit of privacy in the dark, and you poop right in front of the store door. Okay.
Well, that can't be good from an infectious disease standpoint.
Or what does the business owner do? Call up the damn cops. And so now the cops patrol at night to catch the homeless who are pooping outside. They gotta poop somewhere, dude. So this is literally what was happening. And so she invented a kit. It was a number 2 kit of wipes, gloves, a little sealable bag that you use for these potty chairs. Folks who, what do you call it when you poop in the bed? Bedpan.
Yeah.
Bedpan liner. A bedpan liner. They've got these things, bedpan. So anyway, it was a little plastic bag with gloves and wipes. And so anyway, she handed those out. She was giving out $1,500 a month.
Wow.
Okay. So anyway, long story. Sorry, everybody, but there's some out of the box thinking that could happen. Okay. Anything else that let's see. Art, you got anything else you want to talk about?
No, I don't.
Okay. Jason.
One idea for everybody is if you have ideas for like a theme of a song or video or something like that, let us know.
Hey. Taking requests.
A lot of time because that's the creative process where it gets stuck is like, okay, what do I write about? But if you're like, I don't know, write about somebody that tried to crash on Mars or and then, but no, now you're off. So if we can
Glad
keep
you're
track
working on them.
of
I'm glad
ideas.
you're working on that, Jason. In a few weeks, I'll be starting that podcast with Rusty on the risks going into space that are not well addressed yet. So Jason and Marcy and Laura are working on songs for the podcast. I'm really excited. Ellen, you got any last thoughts?
Yeah, yes, I do. I was just about to type it in the chat because I know I was late and y'all already covered this really. But the criteria for new people I mean, it sounds like we got 7 for next year. I don't know how rapidly we want to grow, but probably not. I mean, we're not broadcasting to the world, hey, we're looking for members. But as we encounter people, and I think probably some of the people we want to try to force an encounter with are some of those folks that already have a platform, like Alex Epstein. I didn't forget you, Jacob. I just hadn't got to him yet. Alex Epstein, and maybe Tom Bilyeu. Even if it's just getting on his podcast would be pretty darn amazing, right? I don't know, just folks like that. Is there a system for that? I mean, I don't know how to get a hold of Daniel Schmachtenberger, right? So I don't know. I mean, I
Yeah,
guess I
no,
could go to,
that is a very good point, and we actually kind of stumbled into this because of Alora, where she had a tight enough connection to
David
Shapiro
Yeah,
that she was able to, have discussions on some of his concepts and convince him that some of his work should be included in this book. And that is a big step up for us. The last year was having David Wood. How big
Yeah.
is a star is he? Right now,
Yeah, good.
I think Shapiro is huge.
Yeah.
I don't know how you connect to some of these other movers and shakers in the sphere.
By the way, I'm still like really trying to get him to have a podcast with David Wood about the AI safety, like what are real concerns versus these doomer concerns, because
Right.
that's
That
been
would
on
be a
his
pretty
mind.
fantastic crossover.
Right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
my goodness. So I mean, I know that he got his info on LinkedIn, but I'm just gonna keep bugging him about it. Like, when's the podcast happening?
I seen a tweet from David Shapiro just like yesterday, I think, where he was kind of like having a moment where he's like a little depressed or something. So it wouldn't
Yeah.
maybe hurt for us to maybe reply, "Hey, bro, it's cool,"
Mm-hmm.
It happens, even though
Everybody gets
we all
those
know how.
moments.
Yeah, we all know
I
how awesome that guy is, but right, everybody gets them.
sorry. Sorry, I'm not like I'm not like trying to be rude. I'm just like really lost my voice a little bit. Anyway,
Go
what I
ahead.
was gonna say is I had posted something on X about, like, our digital footprints. They seem very permanent, and I think that is what he's grappling with right now, is like people on X will bring up something that you wrote years ago and throw it in your face and be like, well, you said this. And it's like, but you're allowed to change your mind. So
Yeah, no
like,
kidding.
yeah, like the information that you're putting out there should, it updates. You update as a person. So
Exactly.
I mean, that's what was going on. So
Alora
Yeah, I mean,
is
that's one of those
coming
things,
up
like,
again.
I was going to say this whole idea of like politicians flip-flopping or whatever. Now, if they're going back and forth, that's probably not good, but you want people to evolve when their position, when they get new information, right? I mean,
yes.
that's anyway.
Alora,
Plasticity of mind.
it seems like he did a very good job of pointing out with a prediction that we were getting really close to a steep change in things now. About now, he was anticipating that we were going to hit AGI at the rate at which ChatGPT was improving. And so I think that that's one of the things that he's getting hammered on right now is, hey, you said, okay, and we all know, because we're reasonable people, job in predicting it. I think that in a few months,
Can you close my door? Sorry. Thank you.
In a few months when ChatGPT or GPT-5 comes out, I think that he might be vindicated that he was maybe off by 60 days instead of, but yeah, it's really hard in the environment he's in. He's got 150,000 followers, and some of them were like, oh, that's bullshit, and they're just waiting to pounce when that prediction doesn't come true.
You gotta admit that's kind of funny. Like the most consequential technology ever invented by people ever, and you were off by 60 days.
Yeah, I mean, come on, Ray Kurzweil. Ray Kurzweil deals with it. I mean, I'm sure David can deal with it too. But according to this guy, Life 3.0 by Max Tegmark, AGI, human level artificial general intelligence, AGI is just ability to accomplish any cognitive task, at least as well as humans. That's the definition there. I highlighted it. But cognitive task, we're there. Like, I mean,
Yes.
we're there. So yes, we have AGI. We don't have ASI. We don't have, even really well put together human networks, because we don't brain to brain interface yet. But just wait. So yeah.
Now, Dan, I see you, but I'm about to sign off. I'm
Oh my
tired.
God,
and I
Mike.
gotta lunch. Go ahead, Laura.
I'm
Go ahead,
sorry.
Laura.
I think that you and David should have a podcast about unemployment, because I intuit that you know a little bit more about how the unemployment is measured, and the chance that we might see like job loss. So anyway, I think you guys should talk about it, because
I agree. And
Yeah.
timing on this is interesting, is because I want some time on our website to start including that event horizon graph and indicator. And I want this to be coupled with the publication of the book. Let's say it's in January, where my chapter would be there with the graph available to
Okay.
people and with a corresponding website. And so that I've got that on my mind, Alora, is
Okay.
trying to publicize this particular event horizon. Right now, what I'm working on is the artwork, because I want an icon that is an eclipse. Solar eclipse is what's on my mind, to indicate graphically how close we are. Okay. I've got the graph. A lot of people look at a graph and their eyes cross, right? You and I look at it when it crosses zero, that's a bad thing. Everybody else is going to be like, who the hell knows what that is? So anyway, I'm working on this, and a part of when we start promoting the book next year, my focus is going to be on the event horizon for the economic singularity, and how we're going to measure that, not just talk in vague numbers. So yes, Alora, I just want to wait till the book is available. Good?
Yes. Okay. Good. I'm going to be quiet now so you can talk to Dan. Actually, I got to go because my partner just got back home, and
Yeah, I got to
Okay.
go too, but we'll let Dan have a couple seconds. Thank you, Alora. We'll
Bye.
talk.
Thank you, Laura.
Bye-bye. Dan, did you want to say something real quick before we all run?
Yeah, I guess I could think of a couple of newsworthy items, at least they're newsworthy to myself. But I didn't meet the deadline for my chapter, but maybe next time, or maybe I can still sneak it in. I don't know what the status is if you miss the Labor Day deadline. But I remember Timothy Leary, in one of his final talks, mentioned this event that had just happened at the time in 1991. I put a thing in the chat about the MTS Oceanus, which was a Greek-owned cruise liner that went down off the coast of South Africa. And it's a great story. Well, it's a great metaphor or analogy for, I think, the situation that we're in with Spaceship Earth, if you want to use that Bucky Fuller, Henry George inspired metaphor. You know, the captain figured out the ship was leaving, and he and his crew members put all their luggage in a lifeboat and left, early, with 571 people still on board, and he's like, well, yeah, I sort of think we should abandon ship as a precautionary thing, but you guys could stay, do whatever you want. Bye, and then, like, he shoves off. And so this one guy who was the band leader for this shipboard band, I think his name is like Randy Moss. Anyway, his band is Poor Jackson and Jill is his wife. It's a really kitschy kind of folk band name from, folk rock band from South Africa. But they stayed behind and they organized everyone successfully off the ship. They were all airlifted onto an adjacent ship by helicopter, 2 at a time. And, it was like the captain and his crew were all indicted for negligence. But
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So,
I added that guy into one of my music videos
oh, did
actually,
you?
where
Yeah.
it was Cohen song. Everybody knows that the dice are loaded. Yeah,
So, yeah, there's a little.
everybody knows. The part where it goes, everybody knows that the boat is leaking. Everybody knows that the captain lied, and I added that guy in there.
Yeah. So
Oh.
I put the music video, Celtic folk rock band named Coast that did a song about it, and it's a rocking song. I think you'll dig it, Jason. I posted the lyrics in there too. But we could just add some lyrics to that tune. Actually, almost it's like it just screams out to have extra verses, added to it. And then the other thing is, I recently got a candidate questionnaire from the Ventura County Star, and they said, "What's your top priority in 150 words?" And I said, if you get elected to city council, get people to become amateur radio operators, because I think that is the crew, like the crew of the Oceanus, that doesn't realize they have what crew potential they have. And by the way, Mike, congratulations on a empty taxi touchdown from your company.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But yeah, that's about. So it'd be interesting to see if they publish my my little rant about. And then I went on one of the board net meetings. This local repeater, we have something called the board net, where people just talk for half an hour, kind of check in. And I mentioned that yeah, I answered this questionnaire about my campaign. Said top priority ham radio.
Yeah,
So,
Dan, the funny thing is parachutes still work. What an embarrassing disaster that Boeing has become. It's just horrific. And when they on the ground were checking the thrusters, and there was cut off because of the poppet swelling. It just really embarrassing that. If you don't remember, they had an uncrewed version that had thruster problems years ago on the same vehicle, and they couldn't figure out their own problems. This is very
Set
problematic.
it up again. Yeah.
I worked on 777X for 8 years, and the nacelles on the 4 test aircraft have cracks. You got the 737 where the paperwork wasn't filled out for that door that popped off. It's just, I worked at Douglas Aircraft in 85, and they were just as bad. And you just never thought that you were going to get out of it, and they did go bankrupt. In 1998, we had a series of rocket failures across the world, including my Delta III. And they traced almost all of them back to design engineers. Now, of course, the design engineer at some point has to say, this is what you're going to install. But why was it not correct? Well, probably because the executives shortchanged the research team so that they couldn't get what they requested in terms of tests to prove it out ahead of time. Yes. So, and by the way, Friday the 13th, we got a bunch of machinists probably going to go out on strike. So Boeing is, and what's going to be funny, watch this. Boeing is going to say, we can't give you the raises that you requested. And I'm going to say you spent over $60 million on stock buybacks and $30 billion on dividends. That's $100 billion goddamn dollars you spent. And the stock price peaked at 444, and now it's down about $300 a share. Since then, obviously you burned $100 billion for no good. Okay.
Right.
They burned a lot more than that, and just reputation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Reputation is the most valuable thing in the world.
That exactly true. And when engineers ran Boeing, this did not occur. Okay. When you get the bean counter accountant types running an engineering firm like this is what happens.
Yep.
Okay.
Same
That's
thing
what
happened to
Douglas
BP.
Aircraft. That's what happened to Douglas Aircraft, by the way. It was
Yeah, Braniff also way back. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So thanks for the sarcastic congratulations on landing an empty spacecraft. But it's not just Boeing.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Wait, Jason. Let me finish. Right, real quick. Who spent $6 billion on that spacecraft that will never fly with humans ever again?
NASA.
Taxpayers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
via
yeah.
NASA.
Taxpayers. And then why aren't we going to use it? Because we're going to deorbit the space station. How much did taxpayers spend on the International Space Station? $100 billion. Okay. So when Dan, when I get very upset about what we're doing in manned space instead of robot space, this is why.
Mhm.
It's a great
Spend $100 billion to be up 200 miles in the sky. This is a
That would buy a lot of
colossal-
robot progress. Yeah, you could.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so Jason, sorry for cutting you off. I had to finish my crescendo to taxpayer burning $100 billion. Go ahead, Jason.
Well, I was just almost maybe going to come to the defense of Boeing maybe a little bit and say that, this is extremely difficult technology we're working with. It's cutting edge. We're doing things for the first time. Mistakes are going to happen, and I feel that sometimes people would be like, "Oh, you made that one mistake," and they don't realize how incredibly difficult
You're right.
they're doing it, and that,
True.
Yeah.
But
all
here's the
all
problem,
the
Jason.
potentials for mistake on a single launch. Right. Yeah. They've done dozens.
But Jason, there are ways to minimize those risks. And what I'm trying to tell you is we're not seeing the attention to detail that you need to do, that we know you need to do to avoid those risks. So let's just say when you've got a couple hundred passengers flying in the sky, you got to make sure that the paperwork was done right and the parts are installed correctly. That's our job at Boeing. Okay. And it's embarrassing. Can you feel the embarrassment coming out of me? I'm so embarrassed by this company right now. Okay.
that's why I like your Martian
The reason
Tale song.
the reason that the Oceanus went down, it was cost cutting. They left a big old pipe out in the sewage pipe, and then when they closed the watertight door, the water just came through this open, unwelded section of sewage pipe and just flooded the rest of the hull. So a great metaphor for why we need land capitalism instead of regular stupid capitalism.
Yes, correct. Okay, so there's my topic. I do need to go. I'm starving, gentlemen. Thank you for your time today. I'm really looking forward to this next year. We publish a book, make a company, and it'll be slow growth. I have no interest in forcing things through. Let's have fun and do quality work. Hey, there's the thing. Focus on quality. We had the opposite extreme in this last discussion. Our company will be quality, 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 slow growth and quality. Thanks, dudes. Have a great weekend.
All right. Hey, who was the person that said they wanted to do a Google form?
Probably Laura.
Maybe so. Okay.
Not sure. I really like Google Forms.
So, quick question.
Yeah.
Did you guys come to a consensus that start with a nonprofit and then spin off for profits, or go start with?
No, we do not have a consensus yet. The purpose of today's discussion was to start the conversation. I prefer a for-profit, social purpose corporation that allows us, if we hit a gusher, we can be rich. It's unlikely. It's not the goal, but if it were to happen, I don't want to be constrained. Okay.
Good things happen sometimes.
And that's the same as a public benefit corporation.
Yes.
I mean, yeah.
It's like a B Corp.
Yeah.
The state of Washington sets them up as SPCs. Okay. Now that doesn't mean that's what we're going to do, right? That's the purpose. Once a month we'll get together and I want to collect opinions and try to get an agreement. There will be a formal process next year that we go through to vet if we do a co-op, which is my preferred version of it, right? What are the constraints on it? Are we going to go open source? What do people like Art do to segregate their artwork business that they've got established separate from art they may be doing with us? Jason's got the same issue where he's got a series of music that's separate from what he might do with us. There are many things that we're going to go through. We're going to have not a board of directors to start with, but a group of people to lead the discussion on evaluating this, okay, and formally present it, okay, and then questions about who is part of the group and who is left out. Okay, so for example, I'll give you an example. I have said repeatedly that anybody who is an author in an OmniFuturist book is in the group forever. And I like that. Now there's 10 chapters from last year. There's about 13 or 14 for next year. That's 25. We got half a dozen musicians. We got artists and inventors. You're starting to get a larger group. You really want to include some of these people? Maybe some of those authors do not want to be part of the company. Okay, so
Right.
No, Dan, we're middle of next year is the earliest I'd be ready to incorporate. Okay, lots of discussions. Just think about it. We'll talk about it next month. Okay,
All
gotta
right.
go.
Always good
All
to see you.
right.
Bye.
Live long and perspire. Hey, I shared in the chat about I went over to X to check, make sure I was following David Shapiro, which I wasn't on X, but this is what the cider thing said to me, the little cider AI.
Oh, Mondragon in Spain.
And it says, based on our AI agent's analysis of your tweets, Alan is a 30-something sci-fi enthusiast with a passion for movies who seems to be chasing the dream of bringing grand visions to life. So,
Well, no one has that dream.
Yeah, right. I mean, all that sounds great, but I was like 30-something. So, they obviously aren't looking at my image. But
well, they're going by measuring your inner child, I guess, or your inner.
That's
So
based on
Twitter
my
has
tweet.
the AI thing that like analyzes your profile kind of deal.
Well, it's not Twitter, it's Cider, which I'm not sure who is responsible for Cider. Oh yeah, there's a Mondragon. Yeah,
What it would say about me.
be like rides his Harley with 2 women on it. And
I haven't even published that video yet. And I probably won't make the 2 women. It'll just be one. Maybe me in a sidecar eating grapes. I don't know. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you got one woman driving the bike, another woman on the back of the bike, and
Feeding me grapes
in the sidecar. I mean, yeah.
Well, under Islamic law, you can have as many wives as you want, but you got to be able to afford them.
The Quran cuts you off at 4.
Okay.
Oh,
That's the limit, 4.
I mean, you'd have to get a car at that point.
I ain't big Muslim now, damn it. Boring.
You could just create a internet troll husband and like spawn yourself. I wonder if anyone's like hacking Islamic law to get like extra wives. I'm sorry I joined late. It sounded like it was a good meeting, and I guess am I is there any chance I could still get in this edition, or do I pretty much have to get in the next one?
Keep writing. Just
Really?
keep writing. And I was, you were signed on, but I guess not listening. I said, don't tell Dan. I said that I'm going through these one at a time. We got about 15 of them. So it'll take me, 2 weeks to get through them all.
Oh,
if
okay.
That 16th one comes in, great. But I mean, at some point,
just put me in the last of your in line for your editing queue, and I still might be able to get you some, because I had like 300 pages, and it's just like little mind tweets of stuff, and it just doesn't cohere into a nice essay.
That's what I do. Is I keep a Google document that I just write down my random thoughts and then refer back to them when I need them.
And I do this.
I've got so many pages.
But what I do is I take that document and I attach it to ChatGPT 3.5 or 4.0, whatever it is, and I drop that as an attachment, and I say organize these with some clarity or whatever. I kind of spell out how I wanted to organize it.
Yeah,
And
my
it-
friend
and
Francois tried that, and it just came off like some terrible corporate position paper that wasn't.
well, that's true. That's the first version of mine did that too. But yeah, I mean, it gave me an idea of how to structure it. So
Yeah, that was like what I don't want it to sound like. But
I wouldn't mind talking to you sometime, Alan, about what I wanted to write, because you seem to be the one that has the most knowledge about, geopolitics and stuff.
Yes.
hey, bring it on. I was gonna see if I could send you some. Yes, I do have your email address. Song lyrics or ideas for songs.
oh, and by the
Cool.
way, all you guys are welcome to get in the Facebook Messenger group about the Sequatoria discussion. And we are meeting. Actually, we've been meeting every Sunday morning at 9 a.m.
Sequatoria discussion.
Yeah, it's
Notorious.
it's what evolved out of the X Prize competition
Oh,
to create
okay.
the gigacarbon at the equator that would be a belt that grows biomass, and this would actually sequester gigatons of carbon.
Some kind of weather engineering scheme.
Yeah, right. It's like, oh, you're allowed to do uncontrolled geoengineering experiments, but as soon as you try to make a controlled one, then then the geoengineering
I
mafia.
admit that is a bit of an unfair standard.
Yeah, it's really a double standard. Like, even Elon Musk said, "Oh yeah, we've been running the biggest uncontrolled experiment in geoengineering with our fossil fuel burning." It's like,
Yeah.
Well, and
yeah.
even if we did nothing, the climate would still be changing in different ways. So why not try to control the chaos?
That's
yeah,
how
and it's
we've
like
adapted to everything,
even the climate realists have been so intimidated. Oh, don't say global warming because it's cooling other places. Just say climate change. So yeah, they've already intimidated people where they can't say it is freaking global warming. If you average all the temperatures, we're in a
The term climate change gives you quite a bit more latitude.
yeah, right. It makes it
Well, and I
Make
think there's
everything
good
into a
reason to
binary thing.
decatastrophize. Oh, what, Jason?
They make it into a binary thing
yeah.
to where
Yeah.
you're either pro oil and pro energy and United States security and being energy independent and what has to happen, or you're for this climate change thing.
Yeah, but
This
we're
is
so
what I like about
brainwashed
the
to
UTP. You know,
Yeah.
he acknowledged that we need this stuff. We have to transition over a long period and have some technological advances to fix this.
it just shows
Yeah.
how
We need energy.
we've
We
been
need climate. I mean, it's not.
we've been brainwashed into this false dichotomy, false binary thinking. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
you're with us or you're against us. No, man, there's a whole shade of meaning in between those two, poles.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
yeah, I would even argue that better energy technologies are necessary for continued economic growth because the amount of energy we use compounds over time. And
Right.
if we're purely relying on hydrocarbons and geology supporting that, we will compound and outstrip what geology can supply us with if we don't
Right.
adopt a better technology.
Yeah, we've got to be rolling forward, and I think this catastrophizing is just as bad as the false dichotomy, right? It's like
Well,
we've
and what
got
they always
time. Let's think about this. Let's make some good moves, not just whatever craziness.
and what these bean counters always leave out of the equation is the human element, the resource of human ingenuity. That's why they looked at, oh well, look, our food production is going up linearly and our population is going up exponentially, so we're all going to die this year. But they don't say, no, we have smart people that are using their brains and figuring out new shit that you didn't even think of.
Right, and actually, we're not moving up. We're not moving up population exponentially anymore. We've already crested the hill, and we're falling back into an arithmetic, and we'll probably keep going by. We'll probably trail off around 10 billion and start heading down.
Yeah. And see, that's what economists don't understand. Their models are based on steady growth built on population growth because that's what they figure is going to happen. That's their prediction. But if that's not going to happen, well, how do you expect steady growth then to just happen? And so,
Although it is pretty easy to look back over history and go, yeah, if there's anything people are going to do, it's going to be make more people.
Mhm.
You know,
What was that science fiction story that had the title "If This Goes On"? I love that title.
that's a good one. Well, there's a move over. What?
Make
Or was it
room, make room.
make room, make room. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
the
Harry
one
Harrison.
that the movie Soylent Green was based on. Yeah,
And there's a company called Soylent that
there
sells,
is. Yeah,
and I
it's
just
like
I
a
just figured out
energy drink.
it's made from soy and lentils, soy plus lent, Soylent.
Sure it is.
Wow. So I'm really, yeah, I think I'm going to change my chapter to be like in praise of amateur radio and how it could be the command system for Spaceship Earth. And hopefully I can write that and make that my campaign pledge or campaign, well,
Yeah,
not pledge,
man.
but,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I'm telling you that they have the potential to do a lot more than they're doing, and they're suspicious of talking politics or religion for good reason, right? I mean, no one wants to get on the party line of the local repeater and hear some brainwashed person giving a rant, But I think if we did it over digital, like there's these digital modes like FT8, and you could say, hey, here's a bunch of municipal resolutions that other cities have passed, which
Right.
put these in the top 10, of ranked choice voting, and then ask your city council why they're not considering these other municipal resolutions, and the power goes out. Hey, no problem. We're still discussing it,
I like the old joke about the Soviet Union when they said people say they used to just have the one channel, Pravda or whatever, and they're like, no, that's not true. There's the official channel, and then there's channel 2, which is a KGB officer saying turn back to channel 1.
Oh, I heard a good Russian Soviet Union type joke is like, what did the Soviet Union do before they had candles?
Oh yeah,
Answer, electricity.
Oh. Oh.
But yeah, I think we're in a serious fight between feudalism.
Well, that's like I've been
Well,
seeing in
that's what I
Venezuela. Is
want
there's
my
like a
chapter
black
to be
market
about.
for gasoline that's not price controlled.
In Venezuela.
Yeah, because there's like this enormous shortage of refined gasoline, despite sitting on some of the largest reserves on the planet.
Well, it's high sulfur crude, but yeah, still, it
Yeah, it's
takes
very
a
high
lot of refining.
sulfur.
Yeah, but it's an example of how they mismanaged their stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they
That-
got hit with pretty aggressive sanctions, and that.
Well, and that sulfur is not a problem if your refinery equipment is good.
Yeah,
Now, granted, it's heavy. It's not like really sweet crude like we get here in the southern states and kind of up into Kansas.
And just so you know, if you're blaming it on sanctions, well, that's kind of your fault. That's like saying, "Oh, well, the reason I ain't making money is because I got locked up." Well,
Well,
that
Right,
ain't
yeah,
'cause I
and I
was
know people that
right.
were over there
You know?
consulting with Halliburton when Chavez took over, and they essentially stole from American oil companies when they nationalized.
yeah.
Yeah.
They just rolled in and started taking shit. So it's no wonder their industry's falling apart because you can't do business there. You can't safely put your money there. They will take it when they get hard up.
Yeah.
Well, that's like all the aid that goes into Gaza and Palestine. It's like 90% of that got siphoned up, to go to feather the beds of the top leadership.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like corruption is just like a terrible issue all around the world. People just
Well, the
siphon.
other thing Chavez did is he went through PDVSA and basically fired anybody that wasn't a political loyalist. So all
Yeah.
the good engineers were gone.
Well, that's what Trump's
that's
talking
what
about doing. He's
Project
gonna, I'm
25
gonna clean
all
out the
about.
federal government, which means I'm gonna fire anyone
Well-
that's a Trump loyalist.
Yeah.
Well, the U.S. is compartmentalized where I don't think that would be near as damaging. Whereas in Venezuela, like they were entirely dependent on PDVSA to pay the bills.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's PDVSA? Is that the state oil company, or
Yep, that's the state oil company.
kind of like Pemex, or
Yeah, kind of like Pemex, and Pemex is another disaster.
yeah, I bet.
Or what is it, Aramco, or what's the one in Saudi Arabia? I mean,
Or
when we
Saudi
set up-
Aramco.
yeah, Saudi Aramco. I mean, we set that up with the idea that You know, we'll build the factories, we'll supply the technicians,
Yep.
and we'll guarantee that there's a 20% reserve so that we can release or contract that to
Yep.
to maintain a steady oil, you know, and gas price.
Back in 1938, Standard Oil of California drilled Dammam #1, which was the first big oil find in Saudi Arabia. And the exploration company they set up eventually did morph into Aramco, which got nationalized.
Well, you know, there's a bill on Governor Gavin Newsom's desk, I think, or it's about to be on his desk. But he says all the refineries in California have to have what's the equivalent of like a micro strategic reserve. So they can't suddenly say, "Oh God, there's a disruption, and now we got to like make the prices go through the roof." You know,
there's very few refineries left in California as it is, just because of the expense of complying with all their special regulatory frameworks.
Yeah, and it's probably not practical because I mean that gasoline turns to varnish in what, like 6 months, you know, so you can't just like store that all day.
Yeah, unless they want to legalize MTBE again and possibly even lead, it's very hard to have a long shelf life on refined gasoline.
Yeah, I did my
and also there's so much alcohol in it now.
That MTBE shit is hard to clean out of the groundwater too.
Yeah, and that's part of the problem is there's so much alcohol as the octane booster, and that alcohol evaporates and pulls water. Very short life on the alcohol part.
Oh yeah, the alcohol.
Yeah, that's the renewable part. Though the alcohol is the renewable part because it comes from corn. I mean, that's your most ridiculous.
We use lots of oil to grow the corn.
Yeah, I know. It's like
we're using
it's a net negative, right? It's just for perception. Oh, it looks good.
Now, Brazil has pretty economical ethanol because they have the sugarcane harvest and the silage can go into ethanol.
They made the sugarcane cycle work. Back in the 80s, I think they made it.
Yeah, the other piece of that is they got
ethanol
people.
Industry.
They got people harvesting the sugarcane too.
Yeah,
as opposed because it's on the mountainsides, right? It's hard to get a tractor to just, you know, like with corn, it's in a flat field, and it's non-food corn, so you got to that's food corn over there. Here's the fuel corn, and then you hit your tractor and just run. You know, it's like easy for a tractor.
Are those guys harvesting the sugarcane off the mountainsides? Are they getting like a government guaranteed wage, or is that like a free market, so-called free market system, you think?
That I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
And there's probably some of it that's more industrialized than others, but
I would guess they sell their labor to the plantation at whatever the prevailing rate is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's probably like a quasi-feudalistic arrangement, which you know, I think that's what is going on in the world is like feudalism is trying to rear its ugly head again in all these different forms. You know, we have to have like an office of feudalism remediation or something.
I think they call that an anti-authoritarianism department.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. You can have feudalism as a particular subset of authoritarianism. So.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
I mean, it's like,
but I'm not really in favor of any of them. I mean,
right.
But see, it masquerades as kind of capitalistic enough that people are like, oh, well, that looks like capitalism, so I'm okay with that, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, when you owe your lifestyle to the company store, you know, that's just slavery by other means. You know? But you think I could write like a chapter about ham radio being the Spaceship Earth control crew?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That already sounds fun to read.
I know. You write it, I'm going to publish it, man. So yeah. So get on.
Oh my God, I've read. There's already so many hams that have waxed so poetic about, you know, all the potential in this hobby.
Well, I've never heard any of them. You should share this with us.
Yeah,
that's right. That's right.
I will do that. Yeah, I mean, I can liberally quote other people in my chapter, right? Or do you have any like restrictions on how much like non-original material people can import into their submission?
None that are established. No, let your conscience be your guide. But you know,
because I mean, we don't want to like you know, why the hell am I not reading this in the original? You know.
Well, I don't know, man. I kind of like people that collate the information for me. You know what I mean?
True.
Like that.
True.
like
If
maybe
you put your sources,
Yeah,
you
I've been
put your
noticing
sources
that in
so
The
they
Death
can
of
go
Death.
back
I've been
and
reading
look.
it, and they've been referencing like other books that I also want to read.
Yeah, it's like you don't really have to write a book nowadays. You could just reference a whole bunch of other books and, you know, put some like authors forward on it, and you know.
There's
Yeah, but
something to that. I mean, yeah,
Well, I think there's a balance between bringing value with your original content and then
Yeah.
referencing other things that people who are interested enough might also gain value from if they want to go down the rabbit hole further.
it's almost like art. You don't just come up with art out of like the void. You
Right.
build up other shit and you mutate it. And the key is you have to transform it into your own new thing. It can't be
Yeah.
the same thing repackaged. You
Yeah.
have to transform it in
I mean,
some way.
that's largely what progress is constantly building on a body of knowledge.
So
well,
that's
I was going to say it's like the food cycle, right? The farmer is essentially an artist bringing this crop, into fruition and into literally fruition and into existence, and then you've got some chef who's designing it on the plate and all that, and you're consuming it and you're shitting it out, and that fertilizer is going back to but you want to be on the right end of the cycle. That's what I'm getting at here.
Yeah. Well, it's like art becomes collectible based on, you know, is it scarce? Is there an established market? And is it never been done before? You know, it's like that's the main thing why art has to like, oh, this has never been done before, but
There's
no
also
one
one
really-
thing.
Yeah.
If
Also,
it
what?
emotionally moves you, if it emotionally moves someone,
Well,
you
that,
Yeah.
could, that could fall into the never been done. Like it's a
It's
moving
not
people.
it's not that nonsense that I've seen like a banana taped to a board, modern art thing.
Well, you could actually win some novelty points there, but you know, if there's no scarcity and no established collector market, you're never going to make money
But
with
it doesn't have
Yeah,
the
but-
moving you like a Renaissance painting does.
Well, yeah,
if you
I mean, I
can
think that's
move
an important
somebody
point.
emotionally, it's more, I don't know, it seems like it's more powerful than telling them words. I don't know, almost. If you can move somebody emotionally, it's a thing.
Yeah, no, I think
Yeah,
that's a huge neglected factor.
That didn't work. All right, but I was gonna say I think Ayn Rand's
Not working for
Ayn
me.
Rand's Ayn Rand's book about the Romantic Manifesto.
Mm,
I think she really nails a lot of good points about how um, it's an idealized, that it's an idealized sense of whatever it is you're getting at. So it's not just a painting of a woman; it's a painting of sort of the woman and all women at once, right?
Yeah, I've read the Romantic
Yeah.
Manifesto.
Yeah, I think it's a great book. And she talks about it with visual art, with paintings, with sculpture, and she talks about it with writing and like taking a concept, justice. Well, justice is a big concept, great thing to write about, social justice, this kind of justice, Supreme Court justice. But the thing is, how do you take that idea and make it into a visible scene, right? That somebody can look at and go, oh, that's what justice looks like, right? And so you're taking this concept and then creating, a moving scene or whatever. Like I say, it's got to kind of reach people emotionally that then they go, oh, that's what justice looks like.
and people kind of gave Ayn Rand shit about, oh, you're all about like selfishness. How can you have romantic love in the context of selfishness? And it's like, well, this is a kind of selfishness that I agree to,
She would have said that other person is of value to you.
Yeah.
There are things about them that make your life better.
Right.
Yeah. How can you have it without that? Yeah. All right.
But I think that was also from her cheating with Nathaniel Brandon period.
Well, sure.
The notion of I love you because I feel sorry for you isn't very romantic.
Yeah.
Right.
Although women seem to get triggered by, oh, here's someone I can fix and take care of,
Which, yeah,
Those are
that's not
dysfunctional
really,
relationships.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
dysfunctional.
Codependent, city.
I was going to tell you, like, you guys a quick story. Usually there's a thing called military justice in the military, and rarely is it about justice, and more often it's about morale and good order and making sure people
Mm.
follow the rules.
Mhm.
But um, on one occasion, we had this field exercise, this 2 week field exercise, and I overheard we had like 4 Davises, 2 Sergeant Davises, Master Sergeant Davis, and a Corporal Davis, whatever. But anyway, the youngest of the, and we had like 3 Jameses too. It was kind
But
of
your
a
mic
weird.
has got muffled all of a sudden.
Oh, sorry. Anyway, we had a bunch of guys with the last name James, a bunch of guys with the last name Davis, and this story involves all of them, so it's kind of weird to tell. But anyway, the young corporal wanted to borrow money from one of the guys. He said, "Look, I'll pay you back at the end of this training exercise when we all get paid. I'll pay you back then." And so then I overheard the 2 Sergeant Jameses talking about, "Oh yeah, I loaned Davis, a bunch of money." When he goes, "Oh man," he says, "I wish you'd talk to me. I loaned him money a year ago, same before the exercise, right? He hadn't paid me back yet. And so I was company commander. And I happened to overhear this stuff. So I just like, I'm not, don't say anything. But then when we got to the end of the
And
exercise, we
company
all got back,
commander.
we had a pay call where everybody had received their checks. And so I went out there. I said, "Okay, you guys." They were already starting to line up, right? It was like all the work was done, all the stuff was put away. They were lining up in the traditional A to Z, and I needed just a little bit more time. I said, "Oh, you know what? The A's always get paid first, and it just isn't fair." I said, "I want y'all to line up Z to A, except for Sergeant James. I need to talk to you." So I called him in there. I paid him, and it was sort of a weird office because the first sergeant, the senior sergeant in the company, he had an office in the middle of the orderly room and my office. And so he had a door to both of those, but no door to the outside. So I had a door to the outside and a door to his. So I paid Sergeant James and I said, "Oh, wait in the first sergeant's office." He's like, "Okay," he didn't know why. So I called in the other Sergeant James and I paid him. And I said, "Wait in the other first sergeant's office." And then I called in. These guys are still they're still trying to figure out. Oh, damn it, Z is first. They're just starting to get the line.
You can't say the alphabet backwards.
So then I called in. "So, Specialist Davis, I need to see you." He comes in. I said, "Oh, you're reporting for pay," and I pay him, and then I go, "Oh, wait in the first sergeant's office." And he opened that door, and he saw the 2 Sergeant Jameses that he owed money to, right? And the expression of his, and they didn't really know what was going on. And I said, "Well, I'm going to start paying the Z's. You guys might want to get a head start down to the Walmart. Everybody would cash their checks at the local Walmart. Y'all might want to get a head start down to the local Walmart." And Davis just like hung his head and walked out between them like a prisoner. It was just, he knew he was getting nothing out of that check because he owed both of them. Anyway, so yeah, in my mind, that's military justice.
That was pretty diplomatic. Yeah. A company's what, like 100 guys or something?
Yeah, that one was really only about 75 because it was a specialized company. But yeah, usually they're about 140. So
there's a guy, Fletcher Prouty. He tells this story. He's like, the one valuable lesson I learned from the military was they had this exercise where they had to build a bridge to get learn how to build this bridge on one bank of a river and get to the other bank. And the guys just said, "Okay, your lunch is on the other side of the river, so figure it out." And
you see those picnic baskets? Keep building.
And he said this amazing thing happened. Like this natural leadership thing emerged. Like someone stood up and said, "Okay, you guys, you start unpacking that, and you guys carry that over there." And it's like they didn't have to vote on who was going to, organize this bridge building. It was like the people that wanted to eat, their lunch,
Yeah.
sort of naturally figured it out, like spontaneous order,
That's great. All had a common goal. Yeah, it creates that spontaneous order.
If only we could galvanize, the passengers and crew on Spaceship Earth that way, you know, like.
Yeah, that's a chore. Yeah.
I mean, maybe we need
So
to
you
know there's
disagree with best.
the Apophis asteroid is coming, you know, we gotta like build a bridge to you know, safety. Guess they made a movie about that, you know, or two or three. But yeah, that's why
Hey,
I really want to get with the Lifeboat Foundation. You know, I think we're not the USTP and the transhumanist movement should be doing a lot more
Oh yeah,
cross
I remember
fertilization.
messing around on their website, and I discovered that Mike had written a whole bunch of stuff for them.
We
Yeah.
got all kinds of those organizations that are aligned to us that
Yeah.
we could easily reach out to, and they would accept us, I think.
Yeah, it's a
I
wonderful
love
space,
their
and there's a lot of very, very good people in it.
they got the
Mm.
Lifeboat Foundation has that
Yeah.
shortest mission statement, safeguarding humanity, you know. That's
Right. I know. I love that.
the
That's
shortest possible mission statement, you know. But what other groups are you thinking that we need to reach out to?
Oh
RJ?
wow. Humanity Plus. Oh geez, man.
Yeah, are they a nonprofit? Or how do they work?
Humanity, well, Humanity Plus is Jose Cordero, Ben Gertzel, Natasha Vitamore, I think. Are
Well,
like
they kind of are a little standoffish about the political arm of the the
Yeah.
trans movement.
yeah. But
Yeah, but I think
so-
it'd be fair to say that we're the political arm, and there's like Sinn Féin and whatever.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
political arm, right?
We're
You know,
collecting money
Tell 'em
for
I said this,
ammo
but-
and
yeah.
weaponry.
They're too chicken to hit the arena, is what I would say. We all believe the same shit, but
But they just want someone else to, you know, put their balls on the line.
yeah, and bitch about it in case it don't work.
Yeah, he'll
Oh,
stand back
always
and
something
very
to bitch about.
helpful with criticism. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So who else besides Humanity Plus would you put at the top 5?
Fuck, man. There's lots. There's like a whole
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
the
would actually have
Consilience
to like.
Project. Yeah.
Uh,
let me look on Discord. On the Transhuman Club server, I started listing allied organizations
yeah,
that would
I mean, it
I
would
like
be
uh,
fair to
Biden-
say that you probably can't answer this question on the fly.
Yeah,
because
I know it's
a big
unfair.
thing.
People go like they tried to put Trump on the spot. Well, what's your favorite verse in the Bible? And he's like, well, I like all the verses. You know,
Like-
I can't talk about it.
like Kirdao and
Yeah,
London.
I like these DAOs.
Futurists.
Vita DAO.
Yeah,
You know,
Mhm.
you know,
Cryo Dow. Yeah.
Cryo
Yeah.
DAO is great. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can
Jellyfish.
go through all our old salons and say,
I saw that the next salon is going to involve David Sinclair.
hmm,
Wait.
I thought it was
David
Dan Elton.
Yeah, it's Dan, and I don't know. I'd have to read that description again, but I could have swore it said
Oh,
something
yeah.
about an interview he did with David Sinclair.
That's in there. We pre-recorded that Monday.
Yeah, and I missed the second half of it. I wonder
But
how that's going to work out.
I am wondering too. I'm gonna watch it just to see what happened.
did
I
any of you
missed
guys,
too much of my Labor Day party for that to be a flop, but it probably will be.
Mm.
but I like the idea of like time shifting our salons for good guests that can't make that time slot. I think that's
Yeah.
Yeah, that is good. The flexibility,
a
because
trend.
that would be a shame to miss out on a guest just because you wouldn't accommodate their schedule.
Yeah, because Dan Elton is like top tier and busy, rightfully so. You know, it's like when he says he can't make it, he's probably got a good reason for not.
Yeah, didn't he just finish defending his dissertation or whatever for his PhD? So
Yeah, that's
Mm.
pretty cool stuff.
well, has anybody got anything else for me? Because I gotta get rolling.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
What do you think of
I'm
that guy that's applying for the director of applied technology comment period? Did you get that email?
Innovation.
I
I
did
seen
not.
that email and I never opened it. I
Hmm.
should probably go look at that.
Yeah, it's some guy, a 29-year-old guy in Alabama, and he's got some.
What's his name?
Oh, it's like some made up sounding transhumanist name.
Oh,
And everyone was kind of like, this guy sounds
that's not
sketchy.
good. It's not starting out good.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I'm researching like mobile dentistry. And like, what the fuck is that?
What?
Yeah, it's kind of hilarious.
Well,
But
that's not a
I
bad
propose,
idea.
so,
I
like,
think I hate going. to
I
the
actually,
dentist.
yeah, you're right. I would much rather the dentist come to me. Yeah.
or I think it was like what's that kind of surgery where they use optical fibers, and they got a name for that. I think he was talking about like doing that robotic surgery for dentistry or something. But yeah, his name was like Utopia Athletus or something. It's like
Oh,
That's his
Utopia.
name.
Something like that. But I said, hey, why don't we give these people a probation period? Give
yeah.
them 90 days, see what
Well,
they can do with the position. And
you know,
Well, what about
There
give
is,
them an
like-
hour or 2 hours on a salon? Is what I
That's
think.
that's a great idea.
yeah, you know what?
Right?
That is
Kind of
actually a
audition
really good
themselves.
idea.
Because
There
2 hours
are,
is
like-
enough to say your piece and also to show your ass.
yeah.
Most of the criticisms were like, well, if you search the guy, he has like no track record and there's nothing published about him, and but I'm kind of that way. I don't have a huge
Yeah.
like online presence of achievement, so, but I think I
Well,
still
you guys saw what they said about me online, so what can I say?
I don't know the guy well enough to make a judgment, but a salon would be a really neat,
What did they
neat
say about
thing
you?
to
Armand?
introduce the fellow.
Oh, it was that. It's in the chat. It's in the. It was. I went over to X.
That you're a badass? I remember saying that.
They did a.
No, the
they did
35-year-old sci-fi enthusiast thing.
Yeah. There's a roast and then there's a boast. So they kind of did a plus and a minus. But yeah, it's like the only thing more fictional than his dreams of megalopolis is the idea that anyone actually cares.
Ooh.
There's some choice lines in there. And on the boast they have oh, his passion for sci-fi is so intense that even his followers are left wondering if they're part of a scripted reality show. I don't even know what that means, right?
Well,
Like
I care. I'm
I
I'm
didn't
the
know
kind of
AI
guy
was
that
writing
consider
like Don Rickles insult jokes. This was an interesting trend.
Jeez, man. You must have hit it big. You got people trolling you.
well, I got an AI trolling me. Yeah. But here, based on the AI agents, this one right here, based on our AI and agents analysis of your tweets, Alan is a 30-something. That's the only part I listen to. Sci-fi enthusiast with a passion for movies who seems to be chasing the dream of bringing grand visions to life. So yeah,
Your AI is so fat, she takes 90 minutes to
Oh.
watch 60 minutes.
I remember a time that like an AI was like suggesting me a bunch of gay hookup groups because it saw that I'm a single guy who works out a lot.
yeah, right. Like yeah, what
Like,
are they?
what?
My God. I'd get mad.
I just thought it was funny, but I thought, wait, so you're like taking single guy, works out a lot, gay.
Oh, you know what we should do? We should do a roast of AI. Like, AI is so stupid. How stupid is it?
That'd
Copyright.
be a good 1
Reverend
hour
Burn,
stand
yeah.
up for us. Yeah.
Yeah, we could have like a whole joke book. And actually, if you want to like short out the right left brain filtering, comedy like bypasses the
Yeah, it
brain
does.
filter hemispheres. And like I don't know when we're gonna like step up and take advantage of that brain dewashing technique.
Right. Although I gotta say, now that I know there is actual brainwashing,
Yeah.
and that's one of the reasons we lay down horizontally when we sleep, is because our
Oh, yeah.
cerebrospinal fluid comes out of our spine, goes into that little area around our brain, and then literally washes out all of the toxins, kind of like
Oh,
what do you call that? Like
lactic acid.
lactic acid, like
Yeah.
lactic
The
acid
lymph
in your
fluid
muscle after you
washes
work out.
lactic acid out. Yeah.
Washes all the brain equivalent of that and washes it out. Literally washes your
And
brain.
that's why rebounding is so good, like jumping on one of those little trampolines, because it puts your lymph system into zero gravity or microgravity and all the fluids can kind of,
Oh,
it can kind of fool
I
your
didn't know
body
that.
into thinking it's horizontal,
I didn't know that. Or you could just lay down horizontally on the trampoline. That's not bad either.
Yeah, or get a conversion table and like even better, let
Lay down on a trampoline with 3 midget women around you bouncing.
How about an inversion trampoline with midget women?
I don't rock that hard, but okay.
yeah, that's like a really specific Craigslist ad to even find them.
Yeah.
I'm kidding, bro. I'm kidding, bro.
I think that's your next song idea, Jason. I want to hear
Ballpark,
the ballad of the
my rock and roll fantasy. Yeah.
Put an ad on Craigslist for 3.
Okay, I really gotta go.
Brandy
You
was
guys-
like, I need the 10 deathbed hookers. That's my my
Oh man. All right, I got a cruise too.
All right.
So it's been good talking to everybody.
Been awesome.
Bye.
all right.